Okay, here's the reading for pages 250 to 253. And we're starting here at wondering about their world. Armed with such confidence, the early Greeks began to look around them. They were full of questions about their world, and they were proud to ask them. Perhaps that's why they called man the only animal who asked questions. What is lightning? They wondered. What causes earthquakes? What is the sun and why does it move across the sky? Their first answers were simple ones. They looked at the forces of nature and explained them with myths of nature gods. Lightning, they said, was the spear of the god Zeus flashing through the air. Earthquakes were caused by the sea god Poseidon when the sea god Poseidon stamped his foot. The rising and setting sun was the god Helios, traveling his daily course across the sky in his glowing chariot. These gods, said the Greeks, caused the storms and floods and earthquakes that man could not understand. As we've learned, other early peoples had asked these same questions and found similar answers. For example, the Egyptians worshipped Re as their sun god. Likewise, the Sumerians had their god Shamash, who returned every day to chase away the darkness and spread warmth and light. Some of these ancient peoples went on to add much practical, useful knowledge to their beliefs. The Egyptians practiced medicine. The Sumerians worked out a system of mathematics. The Babylonians learned something about astronomy. The Greeks learned from these peoples, but they went one step further. The Greeks never grew tired of asking why and how things happened. The more they asked, the less they liked the old answers. Could humans learn more about lightning than the myth about what Zeus told them? Could they come up with a better explanation for earthquakes than a sea god stamping his foot? Yes. The Greeks were certain that by using their minds and carefully observing the universe, they could figure out the why and how. They began to wonder, what if there are explanations for the workings of nature that have nothing to do with gods? What if nature is not so unpredictable after all? What if things happen in the natural world according to certain rules or laws? Figuring out the laws of nature. People have always been aware of some order in nature. Even early humans saw that the seasons always come in the same order. They saw that the sun always rises in the east and sets in the west. How did they explain what they saw? They said the gods had made things that way. But the Greeks began to look at the sun in a different way. Perhaps the gods had made the sun. Still, what was it made of? Was it burning air? Was it a flame? Where does the sun go when it sets? How big is it? How far away is it? When the Greeks asked such questions, they didn't stop believing in their gods. Yet they did not expect their gods to answer the questions. The Greeks were confident that human beings themselves could figure out the answers. After all, the gods had given minds to mortals. It was up to human beings to use their minds and figure out what was what. The Greeks observed the orderly world and wondered if perhaps there were laws in nature. They looked for unchanging laws, ones that were always the same and always at work. Such natural laws, they believed, could help them explain the pattern they witnessed in the universe and even the changes in those patterns. This was a whole new approach to learning. It assumed the world was not chaotic and uncontrollable, but orderly in a way that humans could understand. Exploring nature became a passion for the Greeks. Their word for nature was physis. Our word physics comes from it. In fact, many of our ideas in scientific study are Greek. Rather than using myths to explain the world, we look for explanations in the workings of nature itself. We still ask the same questions the Greek asked. What are the laws of nature? How do they work? The Greeks began to explore nature by observing it very closely so they could describe it. Then they used their reason to explain it. They felt that their explanations had to be logical. They had to make sense. The Greeks believed that by using the mind's power to reason, they could discover the laws of nature. Modern-day scientists still follow the Greek example, but they go one step further. They try to test and apply what they know. Modern scientists try to use their findings to change nature and control it. The Greeks didn't consider it so important to experiment or apply their thoughts to everyday problems. Usually they were satisfied if they discovered laws of nature that seemed to make sense. Today, we use the word science to mean the organized study of the universe and laws of nature. The Greeks used a different word. They called it philosophy. The word philosophy comes from putting together two Greek words, philo, meaning love, and sophia, meaning wisdom. So philosophy literally means the love of wisdom. Today, the word philosophy also means thinking about the meaning of life and man's place in it. People who study philosophy are called philosophers. To the Greeks, studying the laws of nature, thinking about man's place in the world, and loving wisdom were all one and the same. The Greeks were among history's earliest scientists and philosophers. This is one reason our culture today owes so much to the ancient Greeks. The idea that the world is orderly and that humans can understand much about their universe is one of the Greeks' great gifts to us. Our firm belief in the power of the human mind to solve problems and unlock mysteries around us, to use our reason to grasp the laws of nature, first took hold millennia ago under those boundless Greek skies. And that is the end. Oh, we still got a little bit here. In a later chapter, you will meet three ancient Greek philosophers regarded as some of the greatest thinkers of all times: Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. And that's the end of reading pages 250 to 253.